All right, everybody, welcome back to the YS channel. Your home for movie reviews, and boy, do we have a fucking old-time classic for you all today. Cameron, how many Japanese Godzilla movies are out there?
Well, Derek, depending on who you ask, there's 33 Godzilla films produced by Toho Studios, and then 38 total if you count the Americanized recuts of, like, for example, Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is a recut of the original Godzilla.
Yes.
And then the ongoing Monsterverse movies.
And then I guess you want to count the 1998 Godzilla movie.
Yep, yeah, that's included.
So anyway, that's almost 40 movies. Holy shit.
Yep.
Well, today's film actually won an Oscar. Believe it or not, Godzilla now has won an Oscar for best special effects, and it did so on a budget many times smaller than that of your contemporary Hollywood blockbuster. And that movie is Godzilla Minus One.
Well, Derek, Godzilla Minus One not only did it win the Academy Award 2024 for Best Special Effects or Visual Effects, or whatever the category is called, it was actually considered one of 2023's best films. In my opinion, the film should have been nominated and won the award for Best Foreign Language Film, or whatever the award is called during the Oscars for foreign language or best international film. It should have won award for that as well, and in addition to the special effects. But the fact that it won an Academy Award at all says a lot.
Yeah, I mean this is a pretty damn good movie. So Godzilla Minus One was a welcome surprise when it came out. In an era when Hollywood movies preach politics, virtue signaling, and all that other weird shit, this movie just came in. It was a prime example of when you let a story tell itself instead of trying to be mired in identity politics and all the other weird shit that's bogging down movies today. You get a movie that's exceptional, and it also did so on a budget, as we already said earlier.
Many praised Godzilla for not being, I don't want to use the word here, but it was being praised for not being woke and letting its characters develop. Godzilla films, are, especially the Japanese ones, are generally not known for their character development, and this movie has quite a bit of that, actually. The movie begins when a kamikaze pilot named Shikishima feigns mechanical issues on his plane to avoid what is probably a destined demise. He lands on Odo Island, which is actually the island Godzilla first appears in the original 1954 classic.
Yep.
But the setting is now during 1945, during World War II. The mechanics discover his lie, but before they can actually do anything about it, a premutated Godzilla attacks the island and kills everyone except Shikishima and leader mechanic Tachibana. Shikishima, yeah, that's a tongue twister right there, had the opportunity to kill Godzilla using his plane's 20mm cannons, but he freaks out and gets scared and pushes out. He spends basically the remainder of the movie brooding that he escaped death while others died.
Well, I'm going to say something about that scene, right? Where Godzilla makes its first appearance on Odo Island, which is a nice little Easter egg to the original movie, right? But anyhow, like when they encourage him to use the 20mm cannons on his plane to shoot the fucking monster. Considering how the rest of the movie unfolded, because you have to understand that at some point after the events of that opening scene, like Godzilla gets mutated by atomic radiation, and then and it develops into the form that you see in the movie. So I'm pretty sure they're blowing its face off with the fucking machine gun wouldn't have killed it, just based off what they put on screen there. But yeah, it's like the act. Yeah, he failed the act, which could have saved lives. And then he has what's basically survivor's guilt, right? So this movie is titled Minus One because it does take place in Japan just after the events of World War II, right? When most of Japan had already been devastated by the bombing raids and then the two nuclear bombing attacks, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan's literally at completely rock bottom, right? They surrendered and all that shit. So And then Godzilla's appearance out of nowhere brings Japan a step lower, hence -1. What most people don't know is that most of Japan's cities were severely devastated, especially Tokyo, by the firebombing raids. Shikishima returns home to find out he has no home or family, which it was a common thing for a lot of returning Japanese soldiers at the end of the war. So he's got no home or family, but he does befriend a woman named Noriko. And it's kind of humorous in the way that it happens, who is taking care of a child whose parents died in the war, and basically, you know, she's caught like trying to steal food or something for survival or whatever. And so she's being chased or pursued, and she hands him the baby, and then he's like, what do I do with this kind of thing, right? So while he's like kind of like moping around with this baby, trying to figure out what to do, she shows up and, you know, becomes like his de facto wife. A little humorous, you know, it's like a little heartwarming thing, right? But more on her later, right? So eventually, over time, Shikishima finds work as he joins a crew that's clearing out mines and stuff in the ocean that's left behind by the Japanese and American militaries. So he gets a job destroying whatever's left over. This helps bring in money, and over time, you see their living situation improve with the money he's making. But anyhow, during this time period, Godzilla is mutated by the nuclear hydrogen bomb testings on the Bikini Atoll. And that's when he decides to set his sights on Japan once again, or the mainland of Japan. And, you know, his presence is detected beforehand by the American military. And they just tell the Japanese, like, hey, you got it. You got this one. Have fun.
But they don't have this one.
Yeah, I know. Whoever is left of the Japanese Defense Force at that time, their scientists and, you know, whoever else they could cobble together, they hatch up a plan to eventually take out Godzilla. But we'll talk a little bit more on that later.
Well, again, the characters of this movie, not Godzilla, are the main draw and are the glue holding the film together. Use everything at his disposal with expert precision. Godzilla films are known for their lack of likable characters, but this is perhaps the movie apart from the original that audiences want the people in the movie to survive instead of being trampled.
As you were talking about, it's the human characters that are actually the draw to this film, which unlike most of the Godzilla movies, the draw is Godzilla versus whatever giant monster, you know, they throw at him. Mothra, Ghidorah, whatever, Mechagodzilla, whatever else you could think of, right? In this movie, Godzilla's the only monster, right? And then, again, you have the real main plot of this movie is about survivor's guilt and overcoming that. So this movie literally could have just worked without the presence of Godzilla, right? Like, I could have just made a Japanese post-war drama about like a failed kamikaze pilot that overcomes his guilt and finds a new purpose in life kind of thing. And that still would have been a very watchable, damn good movie, done right. But, you know, they add in the Godzilla element. And this is what takes this movie up a whole notch, too, in my opinion. So if you were to rank which ones are the best Godzilla movies, I'd have to rank this one number one. And it's not even just because of recency bias. It's just that damn good. You know? Like the original one from the 1950s, which was simply titled Godzilla, you know, before they rebranded it and all that other shit. That one was effective, especially for its time. And it was a very serious and sinister in nature, dark kind of movie. And then over time, from that concept, right, they make it more of a kid-friendly, goofy fucking superhero type fucking franchise. And then they kind of would reboot it every so often, and it would revert back to that. But this one, because of the human element here, with Shikishima overcoming survivor's guilt, you know, and all the other like cast and crew he meets along the way and befriends, and you know his relationship with Noriko and the little child, how all that blossoms, right? It's a hell of a story. And which is usually the opposite in these Godzilla movies. Usually the human element makes you not want to watch the fucking movie sometimes, because it's so absurd, like absurd, stupid. Like I just want to see the monsters like beat the shit out of each other. Like I just need a couple human characters to kind of offer narration and kind of like keep the plot moving a little bit, you know. But other than that, like I just want to see the monsters fight. This one, actually, I want to see like how the human characters like overcome like their situation, right? And Godzilla is really just more presented as an obstacle for them to overcome, which they do in the end, you know. And then all the like creative strategies, which could have been realistically plausible, especially for the time, of course. You gotta suspend disbelief with giant monster movies, of course. But I mean, most of the characters are likable. They are well developed, right? Even like if you watch the English dubbed version of this movie, they actually do a good job with it. It's accurate and faithful to the original Japanese dialogue. Like they don't use cheesy voice dubbing. It's pretty fucking faithful. So, hence, all you throw in all these ingredients, right? You get a fantastic movie and a fantastic Godzilla movie on top of it.
Well, now here's the amazing thing about Godzilla minus one that kind of took a lot of people by surprise. The budget for this movie was anywhere between 12 to $15 million, if not a little bit lower.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually about the same budget to the last Toho Godzilla movie had. Shin Godzilla had like they had like a $50 million budget, but they improved the special effects. Well, Godzilla minus one, they actually went above and beyond with the special effects, given the limited budget, because in the past, when Godzilla movies were produced, they were kind of like cranked out one after another, and they were not given the production values to make them really look super cinematic or anything to add to the flair of what was going on. That's why a lot of the Godzilla films, especially the '90s films, look kind of flat in my opinion, because they're just basically putting the camera in front of the monsters or what's going on, and not doing anything else serious with the camera movements, and hoping it hides some of the wires and other stuff that you can't normally erase on camera. Well, Godzilla minus one now has the ability of being produced with state-of-the-art CGI. They can erase. If they had to use anything physical, they can hide the wires and cables, and use the green screens and blue screens and whatever it takes now.
Yep.
But basically, why this film won the Oscar, given its bigger budget compared to the $200 million movies that was up against and the special effects categories, is director Yamakaze. Basically, he filmed everything like a year prior to the movie's release. Like the movie came out in 2023. He filmed all the live action scenes a year before, and then he gave his special effects personnel the time and clearance to do what was needed to make the special effects look as good and as polished as possible, which is not apparently the case that's going on with Marvel and DC movies, where they're not given enough time to make the special effects look polished, despite having hundreds of millions of dollars at their disposal.
I want to say, look at the Ant-Man, the recent Ant-Man movie.
Mm-hmm.
That CGI was fucking awful, and that had like a $300 million budget or something, maybe 200 million.
Basically, Yamakaze was directly involved with the special effects, as well as being the director of the movie. Usually in these Hollywood films, there's someone that answers to the director that's in charge of these special effects. So Yamakaze actually went the Christopher Nolan route of directing, and what I mean by that is he oversaw every step of production, every detail that went into the movie. He gave feedback where it was needed, and he let his crew do what his crew needed to do, without going full, tyrant director,
Mm-hmm.
director like some big shot directors do. They basically he basically he gave in the end he gave his crew more than a year to actually do the special effects. To my understanding, it took about 8 to 9 months to do all the CGI, all the special effects needed to complete the movie, and then the movie was released maybe a couple of months after everything was done. So
Yeah,
real, and
yeah.
then
The part where he's like swimming after the boat. Yeah, you're talking about the scene
yeah,
where he's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. I talk about the scene where he's swimming after the boat, and they put one of his naval mines in his mouth. Like
yeah,
that scene looked. I think that scene actually won the crew the special effects at the Oscars because as you said before, nothing being done in the United States or with other movies like Napoleon. Napoleon, like they weren't taking the care that was needed to make the special effects look polished and as authentic as possible. And Godzilla Minus One succeeded in that. Like also, the movie proved to be more historically accurate given other movies that were released that year. For example, Napoleon received a lot of backlash for being historically inaccurate, whereas Godzilla Minus One was praised for being as accurate as possible given the situation and scene depicted in the movie after World War II in Japan. Like, this is actually the first time I've seen a war movie that depicts Japan as it was after it was defeated.
yeah. I mean, there's only so many things you could say about how remarkable of a job they did with this movie. Like, there's a difference between like making a good Godzilla or even a great Godzilla movie, and then also just simply making a great movie. They could be two separate things, right? You know, like in each era of the Godzilla franchise, there've been great Godzilla movies, right? Or like really enjoyable ones. Yeah, I mean, the original Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, that's always a fan favorite. I mean, it's a goofy fucking movie, but for that time, it was a good Godzilla movie, but not necessarily like a great like movie. And then they rebooted it in the late '80s or mid '80s, the Heisei era. That ended like in the mid '90s. But you had some good ones in there, like Godzilla versus Destroyer. Godzilla versus Biolante. Those are good Godzilla movies. But I'm actually honestly surprised that it was not formally nominated, at least for Best Foreign Movie. Like obviously it won for the special effects, which it definitely deserved. But yeah, at a minimum, it should have won Best Foreign Movie. It was a damn fucking good movie. You could make an argument it might have been the best movie of the year. Like there is an argument for it, but the how would you say the Oscar Academy is not gonna give a kaiju movie best movie of the year. That's not gonna happen.
That's true. That's true. But God also remember this: 2023 was the year of Barbenheimer, in which two movies the complete opposite of each other came out at the same time: Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Well, Godzilla Minus One is literally the sequel to Oppenheimer. When you kind of think about it.
Yeah, if you think about the timeline, yeah, and it's implied it's gonna be even a darker and heavier movie than Minus One was, and it remains to be seen what they're gonna do as far as if they have Godzilla fight another monster or whatever the fuck they're gonna do. Because at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, during Godzilla's attack into Tokyo, when he launches his atomic breath, which fucking like a third nuclear bomb. Noriko's in the city, right, during the attack, and she gets blown away from like the blast radius, right? And you know they want to make you think she's disappeared or dead, which adds to Shikishima's guilt and just desperation, right? At the end of the movie, they find out she is alive. She's injured, of course, but she is alive. And you see like these black things curling up on her neck, which are like called G cells, or you know, they've actually officially called it Godzilla cells. So she's been, you know, contaminated. So, and then the movie ends there. So it's curious how they're going to weave that into the sequel, or they just abandon it or not. But with that said, like Godzilla Minus One is literally a fantastic damn movie. And then if you want to add actually a little bit of flair, they have a version of it called Godzilla One Minus Color, which is just it's all in black and white or grayscale. Either way, I would actually say this is a must-watch movie, whether or not you like kaiju movies or not. Like this is just it's a great post-war drama, and then it's also a great kaiju movie, and it's very hard to do both of those effectively and convincingly.
Why Godzilla Minus One is a fluke of a movie because again, kaiju films, especially Japanese man in suit movies, are not really known for being quickly acclaimed, and yet we have perhaps the best movie in the whole series of Japanese produced Godzilla movies that even outdoes the original, and many people like we said were claiming it was one of the better movies of 2023, which is actually pretty.
We greatly appreciate you all tuning in and sitting through our review and our discussion, rant about this movie. And as always, if you like it, drop a like, subscribe, and follow our channel. We always greatly appreciate it. It keeps us motivated to keep doing it. And with that said, until the next time, later, y'all.